Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about 5 common LSAT mistakes that people make that you can avoid. But before we get into the common mistakes, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you as a subscriber, and I also have social media that I will link down below if you want to follow me there. But let's go ahead and jump right into this video. I made a video earlier about basically how to self-study for the LSAT. So if you're looking for something more like informative and how to really schedule everything and what to study and how to study and all of those strategies, I will leave a link to that video here and go check that one out. This is going to be just 5 mistakes that I feel like are small yet significant that I find a lot of people end up making. I've made some of these myself and I'm here to teach you from my mistakes. So let's get started with the first mistake that people often make is to leave a question blank. And this may seem silly, like I'm not going to leave a question blank. I'm going to answer every single question. You would not believe how many times people leave questions blank. I've done this on practice exams before. I didn't do it on the actual one, but I did do it several times on my practice tests where I would circle a question and say I will get back to it later, and then I would run out of time and never get back to it and realize that I didn't even put an answer down at all. And the great thing about the LSAT is that it doesn't deduct points for incorrect answers, and so you can literally guess, and you have, if there's 5 answer choices, you have a 20% shot of getting it right. Whereas if you leave it blank, you have a 0% chance of getting it right because it's just immediately marked as wrong. So make sure, even if you circle it to come back to it later, just put an answer down for now, because if you end up running out of time, at least you know that you answered every single question and you still have that 20% chance of getting that one right. The next common LSAT mistake that I see a lot is people won't read every single answer choice. They'll start reading, they'll go from A to B, they'll see C and say, oh, that looks right. They'll circle it and move on. But the LSAT does like to trick you. It usually likes to give you 2 answer choices that seem so correct. They both seem like they could be right. And by circling the first answer choice that you see that looks right, you are hindering the possibility of that next answer choice being the actual correct answer, and you never even saw it because you fell for the tricks and you circled the first answer that you thought was correct and you moved on. Don't do that. Read every single answer choice before you pick an answer. I cannot stress this enough. I don't know why people don't read every single answer choice. Like, do it. If you stumble upon an answer choice that you think is correct, just kind of like mark it a little bit so you remember that that is one that you thought could be correct. But read all of them. Read all of them before you select your answer, please. Next is going in the order that the test is actually given. So obviously you can't like skip around in the sections, like you have to go in the order of the sections that are on the LSAT, but I'm talking about the actual questions. Like people go from question 1 to question 25, just in order. And like that's fine. I guess this isn't like a mistake, but especially for the logical reasoning section, the middle chunk are the hardest questions. Those are the questions that are the trickiest. Once you get, I think, like from question like 10, 11, 12 to about like 18 to 20, those are the most difficult questions. Don't do those first. I would do the first 10 questions. Those are the easiest ones, so go in order of the first 10, and then I would do like the last 5 or 6 questions, and then I would come back and do the middle section, because I found that the middle section of the logical reasoning was the hardest. So be strategic about it. You don't have to do every question in order. You don't have to do the questions in each section in order. Like for reading comprehension, I would give yourself literally like 20 seconds, not even, on the reading comprehension section. Once that section starts, just look at every single passage and just identify like what the category is. Like, is it a humanities passage? Is it a science passage? Just look at kind of the general passage type and start with the one that you feel best about. Like start with the one where you know you're going to rack up the most amount of points. It's going to take you the least amount of time to complete. And that way you are ensuring that the topics that you know you're better at and the questions that you know you'll be able to answer more accurately, you're getting those points before you move on to tackle the harder ones. And you're also giving yourself more time without feeling rushed on those harder sections because you've already completed the easy ones and they took you no time at all, and now you have a significant chunk of time left to complete like the couple harder passages that you may not be the best with or you may not feel as comfortable with. So don't do every single thing in order. Don't do it. The fourth thing I have is mostly for reading comprehension, but can also be used for the logical reasoning section, and that is to read passively. I feel like a lot of people will just read through the passage as quickly as possible so that they can just get to the questions. And while that is like good to some extent, like you don't want to spend too much time on the passage, just slow down a little bit and just ask yourself questions. Why is this important? Make notes in the margins if you have the time. Like, ask yourself why the author wrote what they wrote, because it's going to help you so much more when you actually get to the questions, because you feel like you've already engaged with the text, you have a better understanding, and the more you do it, the more you'll be able to identify the patterns in the questions that they ask versus what you're kind of asking throughout the passage as well. And you'll find you're better equipped to answer the questions once you get to it if you're reading more actively. And then finally, number 5 is spending too much time on one question. I know how hard it is to move on from a question when you feel like if you just spend a little bit more time, you can get it, And you get stuck on it and you just start focusing all of your time and your energy on this one question. And it's hard. I know it's hard, but you just gotta move on. Like, there's only a significant amount of time that you have to spend on each question. I think for logical reasoning, it's like a minute and 15 seconds, something around there for each question. If that minute 15 second mark rolls around and you haven't answered the question, circle a random answer, mark that you should come back to it if you have time, and move on. Every single question is worth the exact same points. Why spend so much time on the hard questions or the ones that you're not getting when you could rack up so many more points on the questions that you will understand and that are easier for you or whatever it may be? Instead, you're spending so much time on this one difficult question that you end up being rushed at the end and you're kind of just skimming everything, not focusing on all of the questions that you have left that you could have gotten perfect score on. So if you haven't answered the question by the designated amount of time that you give for each question, just circle an answer and move on. Just do it. It's so much better for you in the long run. It's so hard. It is so hard to give up on a question. I totally get it, but just do it. And then the last kind of thing that I'm going to throw in there as kind of like a bonus and honorable mention of a common LSAT mistake is for the logic game section. It's when people don't make inferences when they're reading like the initial little information blurb. So when it tells you like so-and-so can't be next to them and this person has this job to do or whatever the game is, it's one thing to make diagrams and kind of map out the situation and kind of put like where certain letters should be or whatever it is that you're doing for that specific game. And it's a whole other thing to make inferences before you even start the questions. And here's what I mean by the inferences. If it says A can't be next to B and B has to be in spot 3, you know A can't be in spot 2 or 4. So immediately put under spot 2 or 4 in A and put a cross that it can't be next to spot 2 or 4. Now when you get to the questions, I promise you there will be an answer choice that will have A in position 2 or 4. And you don't have to like go through every single thing again because you already have in your original diagram that A can't be in 2 or 4, and you can immediately cross that answer choice off. It saves you so much more time. It works. It's so important to make inferences when you're doing your logic games setups. And the reason I put this as an honorable mention is because it's not like a very common mistake. I feel like a lot of people do make some sort of inference when they are doing the logic games, but in case you don't do that, here's your wake-up call. Make inferences. So with that, hopefully this video was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you know of any other common LSAT mistakes that I maybe missed, and we can all help each other out. But I hope you're having a wonderful morning or night wherever you are, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.